Chicken's always had about a 2 to 3% increase in demand year on year. The number one is the affordability perspective of chicken. Chicken, you can pick up a roast, a medium bird for £3 or £2.50. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. It's probably too cheap, really, if being honest.
Chicken is the UK's most popular meat, with the average Brit consuming 35 kilograms a year. Meat production methods must be industrial if they are to meet the country's ever-increasing demand for low-cost consumption. Patrick Hook is the director of the UK's largest independent hatchery company, PD Hook, which was founded in 1950. They are now located all over the UK.
My grandmother started incubating eggs in her garage, which is literally across the way here, and selling chicks to various different customers, like locally, as it were. That's when everything was very much a local thing, and when poultry was still very much a niche.
Fertile hatching eggs are produced at breeder farms, where pullets lay eggs in communal nest boxes on raised slants.
So if you take a standard 4-shed breeder farm with 36,000 birds on, traditionally eggs would come out on a table from the nest and we'd pack them all by hand. But over time, we're putting egg packers in, and basically the eggs come out on a conveyor, they go through a conveyor belt and they get automatically packed onto our trays. Eggs have thousands of pores on them when they're laid. Every time you handle an egg, you're introducing potential pathogens to that chick. Actually, when you go to egg packing, no one touches the egg. So that from when the egg is laid in a nest to when it hatches out as a chick, no human hand has touched that egg, which I think is quite amazing from a hygiene point of view.
Once the eggs are packed, they are collected twice a week from the breeder farm and transported to the hatchery. Biosecurity is critical, and every part of the hatchery and the equipment has to be cleaned down once a day. Eggs are stored at the hatchery at 18 degrees Celsius and are fumigated. Then they are pre-warmed for 5 to 6 hours at 24 degrees to stop sweating from the sudden increase in temperature. The eggs are then loaded into setters for incubation at 37.5 degrees for 18 days and are turned 40 degrees every hour. After 18 days, the eggs are removed from the setters and are transferred mechanically to hatching trays for the final 3 days.
And then when they go into the hatcher, they get brought down to about 36 degrees because we think that's the best sort of temperature for the chicks to hatch out at, and it's quite good for chick quality and uniformity.
At day 21, the chicks hatch, and they get graded by hand to check for any abnormalities. They're then counted into chick boxes and are vaccinated, before being loaded onto temperature-controlled lorries to be transported to the farms.
So we would hatch on average between 10 and 10.5 million chicks a week. So it's 21-day cycles from eggs going into chicks coming out. So like at Coat Hatchery, for example, where we do 2 million eggs a week, 2 million chicks a week, there will be about 8 million eggs at different stages of the process, from eggs coming in, eggs that are 5 days old, 12 days old, 21. So in the hatcheries, although we do 1 million a week at Afcot or 2 million a week at Coat, there's eggs in that 3-week process, there's 3 times that number.
In the UK, over half of the meat we consume is poultry. To keep up with that demand, the farming methods are always evolving.
Everything has changed. It's not just a big change, the whole lot has changed. It was taking about 10 weeks to get them up to the weight we get them today.
Peter Hemmings has been farming since he was 9 years old, when his father founded their poultry farm in 1952. Over the years, Peter has seen the job change a lot.
In the old days, we were paying almost twice as much for chicken as we're paying for it today. From a health point of view, it's one of the best, and price-wise, it's very, very good value for money. It's never, the industry has never stopped moving forwards, and it's lovely to see something so small go out so big.
I've grown up here after my parents purchased this farm in 2007 and built 4 poultry units, which have now been running for 9 years. This is very different to your typical farming family because it hasn't been passed down through the generations. Each poultry house holds 50,000 chickens. The chicks arrive here on the farm just hours old from the hatchery.
The birds are delivered to the farm in temperature-controlled lorries. The chicks are then transported into the sheds in crates. Each crate holds 100 chicks, which are carefully tipped into the poultry house. The sheds are heated to 32 degrees when the chicks arrive and slowly decrease as the days go by. After a few days, the windows are opened to let in natural daylight and the chicks start to peck the welfare bales and use the perches.
We've got 200,000 chickens, so we have 200,000 chicks come in all at once. We take delivery of them on the day that they hatch. They're taken and tipped in the shed. There's feed on the floor ready for them. So the first thing we want them to do is a good chick start to eat and drink within the first 4 hours.
To help prevent spreading disease and bacteria to the chicks, workers use disinfectant and have different wellies for each shed.
The temperature in the shed slowly comes down each day till we get to day 4. The feed on the floor, they've ate all the feed off the floor, so by that time they're big enough to find the feed in the feed pans.
The chickens leave the farm to the factory on day 42 and are close to 3 kilograms in weight, but this can vary slightly depending on the weight that the supermarket has asked for.
So we're empty for a period of time where we do a deep clean, everything's washed, sterilised, all prepared, ready for the chicks to come back again for the next cycle.
Once the chickens have left the farm, the chicken muck is cleared out and goes to a local digester, which produces electricity and is sold into the grid. But why is being sustainable so important?
Having renewables is something every company needs to look at, and it's all about keeping your running costs to a minimum, really, and we all need a carbon neutral footprint. Using solar for electric, for instance, cuts our electricity costs. We burn wood chip to heat the sheds because we have to maintain a high steady temperature. We use biomass as it's a renewable source of heating the supply of wood. So we buy in wood chip, which is dried to around 20% moisture in it, which is what we burn, which keeps us in a competitive place for the market.
The UK is the third largest overall poultry meat producer in the EU. British farmers take pride in having some of the highest welfare standards in the world. Poultry meat farmers have to be Poultry Passport and Red Tractor assured, which means they meet strict animal welfare standards, safety and hygiene and traceability.
Being a part of them keeps the standards high, keeps British farming standards high. Every poultry farmer supplying chicken to the food chain has to be a member of Red Tractor, which they audit us on a yearly basis, which it keeps, in general, it keeps the standards to a very high level.
To begin with, we have an estimated kill plan for a day. So we kill at the moment around about 1 million to 1,020,000 birds a week.
They sound like shocking numbers. But to keep up with the demand for chicken in the UK, this mass processing of birds is essential to keep meat on our tables. I've come to Two Sisters in Devon to find out more. Because of the sensitive nature of the factory, which viewers might find upsetting, we only have stills from inside.
We operate gas method of kill at the moment. We do have an electric stun as backup, but the birds are gas. There's a 2-stage gas system, so the first stage knocks the bird out. The second stage then puts the bird to sleep. They come through. It takes, like I said, 3 hours to get from kill into the whole bird room. Through that 3 hours, they go through evisceration, so all the insides are taken out, the feathers are taken off, they're plucked, etc. And then there's a 2-hour, 45-minute, basically few mile long chain, which goes through a chilling process.
A-grade birds are for hoard chickens and are dropped off the line depending on the weight the customer has requested. B-grade birds are then sent to portions, but they cannot put a knife to a bird for 6 hours after it's been killed, due to it causing the meat to be tough.
We've got an ACM, which is an automatic cutting machine, so the birds are manually hung onto the ACM. They are then, the wings are cut off by a machine, the legs are cut off by a machine, and you're left with, in effect, that much of the chicken left. And we then hand cut the breast off because the breast is the most valuable piece, and then you get the best yield out of it by hand cutting. So we're cutting anywhere from 550 to 650,000 birds a week.
The meat is then packaged and dispatched to a number of different supermarkets, from Aldi, Sainsbury's, Morrison's, Marks and Spencer's and many more.
But in effect, it's the same birds coming in. We kill 180,000 free-range birds a week. if you walked into a Sainsbury's store and bought a free-range chicken, it's come from the same farm that the Aldi one has.
After seeing the process of chicken from hatchery to farm to factory, if we want to continue eating a healthy, cheap, fresh protein, these methods are the only way that demand is met.